Hi there, I'm Nicole Wilbur, and I'm here to talk to you today about NaNoWriMo 2021. I know it's Preptober, but I think that to write 50,000 words in a month, you have to start preparing in September. And I know it's a little early, it's like Christmas, NaNoWriMo just keeps getting earlier and earlier, but we're gonna do it anyways because we want to be prepared. And this year I'm so excited because I'm actually planning on doing NaNoWriMo for real, correctly, the whole shebang this year with a first draft of a novel aiming for 50,000 words. So I am prepping now. As I finish up my 1837 novel, and I thought I would share with you a checklist for PrePreptember September, PrePreptember, I don't know. All the things that you can do in September to be ready to outline and prep in October, to be ready to write in November. I'm sorry, I know it's early. All right, so number one is choose what story idea you're gonna focus on. Now this is hard. How you decide what to write next is the topic of numerous videos because you're gonna put so much effort, like 3 months of effort into manifesting this thing. But honestly, I've actually never struggled with this question because I don't think you're ready to write a book until you have multiple ideas mixing together. That's a big misconception that it's one idea that creates a novel. I'd say no. I actually think you need 3 or 4 ideas that come together to really create the concept for a book. Ideas for character setting, plot events, that kind of thing. And when the ideas start coming fast and furious and I feel synergy, I know I'm getting close to a book, and that's the idea that I should go with. So I would be interested to hear if you have experienced that before. Maybe you're like, synergy, what? Oh my God. And if that is not your process, just the sort of organic, like let the ideas come and when I have enough, I'm ready, then here are some questions you can consider to figure out which book that you should work on. So maybe think of these for like each idea. The first one, is this something that you could work on and still be excited about for like literal years? You have to want to do it for years because it's going to be editing. It's going to take a while. And then even if you write it and edit it so fast, querying and or self-publishing or querying and all of those things, it's going to take a really long time to put it together. So how do you know though if you're going to be still excited about this idea for years? I've seen this question before and I've been like, okay, but like how do I know? I can't predict what's going to happen in 2 years. Can you? I can't. So here are some guidelines I go with. Like, has it been something you're thinking about for a while? Is it a setting you've always loved? Do you have a really clear why for why you want to write this story? Like, why this story? And have those reasons for why, like those interests, been something that has staying power with you, that's something you've always been into? Is this a story in a genre you've liked for a long time, or is it similar to some of your favorite books? And for me, if those things are true, if one of those things are true, like for 1837, it's Canadian history. I'm still passionate about Canadian history. Literally the reason I'm able to keep writing this book, even though it's a slog and it's taking so long and it's getting a little frustrating, but it's fun still at certain times, is coming back to the Canadian history aspect. I do love my characters, I do love the setting, but it's like this is the Canadian history that I want to write about. So that's my why. Another question is, does this story feel fresh to you? Basically, are you taking a twist on a certain character type or setting or genre? Do you have a different kind of main character in a genre book? All of those kinds of things. I wouldn't worry about this too much, and it's not the same as being original. It's just being fresh and not being overdone. Like, can you spin the stereotypes at all? That kind of thing. And finally, what challenges do you think you'll face with the story? Challenges like, this is going to require lots of research. My characters might be unlikable. The plot is going to be long and complex. It might be a long novel. It might be 3 POV, which is freaking hard. And once you've sort of listed those challenges, think, do I feel comfortable with these challenges? Am I ready to face them? Am I confident that I can face them and do this? Or should I focus on an easier idea first? Especially if this is your first novel, maybe you could focus on an easier idea that's like 1 POV character or like a little bit less research in order to learn how to write a story, basically. And maybe you should focus on like an easier idea just to start for NaNoWriMo. All right, so that was what idea do you work on first? So have your idea, beautiful. Step number 2 is start brainstorming. So in September, I'm going to be trying to bring my book from an idea, which is, for example, my project musical. The idea was I want to write a story set in an art school. I want to write a story about a girl directing a play, to a concept. So my concept ended up being, what if a high school student had to direct a play for a competition in order to redeem herself after fleeing her art school in disgrace? And you can see Story Engineering by Larry Brooks for more on this. I believe there are blog posts as well in terms of getting your idea or your couple of ideas together into a real concept that you can actually execute. And I'm gonna sort of vlog and talk about how I'm doing this in upcoming videos in September for PrePreptember. I don't know how to say it. Okay, number 3 is choose a few books to read in your genre and make notes on them. If you aren't sure of your genre exactly, think of books that are like yours and reread them. So things that you would consider comps, some of your favorite ones in the genre, what's inspiring you. Try to read the newest books that have come out that are close to your book in September and October. You can try to read however many books you think you read in 2 months. Read that many. Look at the length, look at the structure, look at the writing style, and just generally try to get inspiration from these books. For example, before I did the second draft of 1837, I read The Rose Code, and I was so deep in that book because that is kind of the masterwork, like the be-all, end-all, I think, of historical fiction. I loved that book. I thought it was amazing. So I really wanted to kind of copy some of the ways that they dealt with the history and the multiple POV and everything like that. So step number 4 is, if you are not familiar with story structure, read a craft book or learn about it from videos or blogs, things like that. For specific books, I would recommend Save the Cat Writes a Novel or The Anatomy of Story. There are other books and methods as well. It's a good idea to try to learn just one story structure methodology before October. Because then you have an idea when you're outlining, working on it, of what you'll need in your story, so you can brainstorm and think around these different points. And it's a really good idea just to get familiar with story structure. You don't have to follow every structure exactly, but it's so important. Other ones I've heard about are Plot Embryo and Story Clock. There are tons of videos on YouTube. I will try to put a few in there about structure, tons of online resources. You don't have to spend money if you don't want to. Just get familiar with it. I'm going to give you a note. I've seen a lot of videos on the snowflake method, and I just want to be clear. Well, in my opinion, the snowflake method is not a plotting method. It's an outlining method, so it doesn't actually teach you about story structure. So I would avoid that and not rely on it here. Also, the story grid is a great resource, especially for genre, but I do not recommend reading that book. If you're interested in the story grid, I'm going to be doing lots of videos on it. It's more of an editing tool. You can definitely use the genre part and some bits of it for outlining though, and it can be really helpful. I would really suggest reading the blog posts on genre and don't buy it. Beautiful? Okay. All right, step 5, which is the last step for September. So step 5 is, if you have any research to do, start it now. If you're writing historical fiction, find your time period and start your research and research. The time period doesn't just give you setting details, but should intimately tie into the plot or story. Again, talking about The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, which I adore. She had to do so much research into the code-breaking thing. Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. The code-breaking teams during World War II in England. She had to do so much research into that. And she actually based some of her characters off real code breakers and people who were working at that place. And so much research went into that. And the plot was all intimately tied to the setting. It wasn't just a nice backdrop. Everything was connected, and that's what makes really great historical fiction, in my opinion. So you will run into major roadblocks, trust me, if you try to plot a historical fiction story without doing any research. Because here's the thing that's cool about research. Research should not be boring for us as writers. Research should actually be part of how we develop our story. because research can inspire us to put in new story elements. Even if you're not writing something like historical fiction, you might need to research your character's career or the particular setting, or maybe you need some sort of science thing. Research it now as much as possible. Like, I would suggest going to museums if it's safe, talking to people, visiting sites, watching videos, anything that will be vibrant for your initial research, because this research should give you inspiration, make you more excited, and help you build up your story. So the story idea that I am going to be working on in NaNoWriMo 2021 is this idea I have that it's maybe a heist. I'm not entirely sure. I have a character, I have a setting. The setting is Florence, and I've been touring Florence for the past week. I'm going to be here for 3 more weeks, and I go around, I'm visiting the museums, and I've got to tell you, inspiration is everywhere. I have my little phone out, I'm writing down pieces of history, I'm writing ideas. I have like an idea for a big sort of finale scene and like how they're gonna pull off this heist thing. Like, I have many ideas just from observing what's around me, and it's really coming together. It's super, super fun. This is crazy. I'm so excited for this. Research, so important. Don't even think of it as research. Think of it as like inspiration, especially for these stories that are like heavily fact-based or historical fiction, or like rooted in a certain world, like academia or something. That research isn't just like exterior to the story, it is the story. It should become part of the story. It should shape your story. And it can be so exciting to do. And like, honestly, if you ignore all of the tips, I would do number 5. And just as a reminder, number one thing to do on the checklist is choose what story idea you're going to focus on. Probably have to do that one. Number 2 is start brainstorming to bring it from an idea to a concept. Number 3 is choose a few books in your genre and reread them or read them. Number 4 is, if you aren't familiar with story structure, read a few blog posts or craft book or some videos on that. Number 5 is, if you have any research to do, start it now. Let me know what you thought of these tips. Let me know what you're thinking about NaNoWriMo 2021. I can't believe it's September. This is crazy. What happened to this year? I mean, honestly. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, give a big thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed, think about doing that, because I am posting tons of NaNoWriMo themed content now. I'm gonna be doing some cool goodies through my newsletter in November. Also, check out my story grid series that's going to be coming once a week, where I am doing the full story grid method from start to finish. It's gonna be super fun. Having a good time over here. So happy September. Oh my God, it's almost fall. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.